How wealthy are you? I mean, I'm reading that you're 77 billion.
Welcome to Reeves Rants. I got a good video for you today. It's an interview with Warren Buffett. I bring this video up because I'm going to get you to think a different way about money and how people worship money. And in essence, the stupidity that this billionaire is saying, and yet people worship this kind of thinking. A lot of people would look at this and think, oh, so humble. He's so humble in the way he says it. So let's roll into it.
How wealthy are you? I mean, I'm reading that you're 77 billion.
99% of my net worth is in Berkshire Hathaway stock. Every share of that stock has been pledged to philanthropy. So I'm a trustee for that stock. So it'll go to society. And then a good bit of the rest will as well. But
he tries to deflect away from the fact that he's collected all of this money that he doesn't need to collect and that he's addicted to wealth. It's clear by his immediate dodging and pointing out, well, it's all going to go to charities, and I'm just the trustee of this. I'm just the guy holding it. Well, why did you collect it all? If you didn't want it, then why did you collect it all? And this is the problem I have with wealthy people, and especially people who worship wealthy people. He is a crackhead without a pipe. Rich people are crackheads without pipes. They're addicted to wealth that they don't need, and then they pretend as though they don't want. His actions, the way he said it right there, shows that he feels guilty for all the money that he has. And if you feel guilty for it all, then why? Well, then why did you do any of it? Then all you feel like you have to give it all back to charity? Then why did you collect it all?
But if you add up what's in my name, if we go down to my safe deposit box, we will find some stock certificates that are worth that much. But as I've written, they have no utility to me. They can't do anything to make me happier. I'm already happy. I'd be happy with, certainly with $100,000 a year, I could be very happy.
So if you could be happy with $100,000 a year, then why weren't you? You reached a point where you made $100,000 a year, and then you went beyond, well beyond that, to the point where now you've collected so much money that we can see that you feel guilty for it. Well, some people can see that you feel guilty for it. That's why you say it's all going to charity. That's why you talk about you could do it off of $100,000. That's why it's all in a safe deposit box. And you downplay it so much as this fake pretend humility that we as normal humans who don't have an addiction to money, as Warren Buffett and other billionaires do, you had any time you could have stopped. You didn't have to keep going. Mark Zuckerberg, his money came overnight. You built that well beyond $100,000 a year. So when you say you could be happy with $100,000, well, why weren't you? And why don't we, as again, normal human beings, see that he isn't actually humble and that he took all that money from the economy that could have just stayed out there? Not to say that he needed to give it to poor people. I'm not saying that. People still need to earn their money. But there are opportunities that are prevented for other people when billionaires step in with all the money they have against negotiations. And the fact is, billionaires and billionaire corporations are limiting the opportunities of small businesses. People on the extreme right can say all day that there's no zero-sum game. And you're right, if we raise the float every time. But given the fact that power leaves no void, every time there's a dollar to be earned, someone earned it. So it's not this unlimited economy that people on the right have been lied to about, and that people who worship money have been lied to about. Instead of guys like him not being happy on $100,000 a year and continuing to make more and more and more and more and more money, that once he dies, where's it all going to go? To trust that he has decided? So He took money from an economy that he didn't need to take, and then the King Buffett, decides where the money will be charitably given to. If you look at what happened with the Ford Foundation, it started off originally with one mission, and once he died, the people that were entrusted, the trustees that you just called yourself, the trustees that were left to run that, basically started giving the money to all kinds of organizations that Henry Ford himself would have never given the money to. So these wealthy people, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett specifically, those are two of the people that I think are the worst. You have taken a really long time to collect that money, and you could have stopped at any point and helped a whole lot of other people out. But instead, we hear these amazing stories about how you came through and saved these businesses that maybe should have went under. Instead of you coming through and saving businesses that would have potentially collapsed and given opportunity for maybe their competitor to come through. And not to say that just because those businesses were being mismanaged that they deserve to go under, but that's actually what business is about. So you didn't allow the fair market and the market to dictate. You came through and you swooped up businesses that were on the borderline of collapsing. And yes, through the great business tactics that you use, these businesses made more money. But what would have happened if they would have collapsed? What would have happened if companies that Warren Buffett didn't hedge his bets against? What would those companies be today? What other opportunities would have been allowed for other people? But this idea to say that we should just allow for open-ended wealth is stupid. So when you say it's not a zero-sum game, you're saying to the peasants and to the poor, all of us, you're saying for us to invest our money against billionaires and millionaires who have the money to basically price us out of the system. Because in some ways, the fair market fights the small guy and gives the opportunities more to the guy who's collected more money. Whoever has more can buy more at lower prices and sell for cheaper and put his competitor out of business. That's the way big business is doing things. They swoop through and they buy up all these other businesses, and they literally take other opportunities from a lot of us who could potentially just be mid-level entrepreneurs. I'm not saying I want to be. What I'm saying is there are plenty of people out there who would step up to be entrepreneurs if Warren Buffett wasn't there. So to assume that, well, we need to have these rich people investing because if we don't, then what? Anybody else would? But to say that one guy needs to own all of these businesses as opposed to, say, 100 people owning 100 different businesses that he owns, who benefits more? We don't recognize this disruption that they're creating within the system. If you were happy at 100 grand, then why didn't you stop then? Thanks for watching. Later.